Hi and hello, thank you so much for tuning in, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. My name is Preeti Rao and I am both a real estate and a mortgage broker for close to 20 years. Now recently a series of events have created the perfect storm for real estate to explode once again, and this includes everything from inflation cooling down to the Bank of Canada not even discussing increasing interest rates in the month of March, to recent changes to the foreign home buyers ban, basically making it irrelevant. And last but not the least, the federal government backstopping current mortgage holders in order to prevent them from defaulting, which is essentially the government intervening in the mortgage market. And all this combined creates a scary cocktail that could force real estate prices even higher in the coming years. But before we get into all the details, you know the drill. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, tap the bell icon. It gets me motivated to keep you up to date with everything real estate. So, the recent changes by the federal government could create an artificial floor for the Canadian real estate market that could see prices being pushed even higher, combined with the additional spending from the federal government, which has an inflationary effect on its own. It's clear that the federal government is dead set on kicking the proverbial can down the road with respect to housing and with respect to the natural reset that should be occurring from higher interest rates. And essentially what this all amounts to is bailouts for Canadian mortgage holders, which will prevent them from having to default, which means that houses that should be coming up for sale and adding to the supply won't be coming up for sale anytime soon. And that reduction in supply, combined with added demand for the immigration problem that we're about to face, is almost certainly going to lead to the floor in Canadian real estate prices and could potentially cause the real estate market to go up in value even further than it already has. So first and foremost, let's talk about the pace of inflation now. This is good news. The pace of inflation is cooling off, which means that the increased interest rates are finally having their effect, at least in part. But this doesn't change the fact that there's been a pretty significant amount of increase in grocery costs and other things that basically can't be avoided when it comes to purchasing. And you have to remember that even though inflation is sitting at 4.3% today, we still have a long way to go before it gets back to the 2% inflation target. Now, that's concerning because the Bank of Canada didn't even debate hiking the interest rates in March. And this is even as the federal government in the US not only increased the interest rates but also suggested that they were going to continue to do so. So the question is, what are we doing? We are pushing our interest rate increases, and that may be creating a false sense of security for home buyers as they begin to expect that the interest rate hikes are over, which they may be, but they may not be at the same time. And the fact that we are seeing added activity in certain real estate markets could mean that housing can start contributing to inflation again, which could potentially lead to a scenario where interest rates would have to go up again. So confidence in the real estate market and the fact that interest rates have stopped going up could actually lead to a scenario down the road where interest rates have no choice but to go up. And on top of that, it's becoming clear that we have an immigration problem. And the problem isn't that we have immigration, because immigration is a good thing, but it's a bad thing when you don't have enough houses to support that immigration. And what we're seeing right now is that Canada needs 30,000 new rental properties by 2026 in order to make sure that the gap between the amount of people we have coming into the country and the amount of housing that we have available doesn't quadruple. Even if the deficit isn't purpose-built rentals, the fact that there is not enough place for people to live will lead to higher rents, and then subsequently it will also lead to higher prices and higher home values. There's just no way around that. If you don't have enough housing stock and you have more people coming in than the housing stock available or the housing stock can handle, that leads to higher prices in both rents and in single family home prices. Now, to top all of this, we saw a recent amendment to the home buyers ban. What they've done is they've now made it possible for people who have more than 6 months remaining on the work permit to purchase a home. Now, In the eyes of the voters, the foreign home buyers ban was all about not allowing people to buy properties from other countries in order to hold them as a safe investment for us Canadians. But the reality here is that the largest number of people who are buying homes in Canada are the people who are coming here with work permits. So essentially, a large majority of people that would have been affected by this and the large majority of sales that would have been eliminated are now allowable. Now I'm thinking if you're bringing in people to work here, you should allow them to buy houses. But I think it's also important to understand how these things work, and to understand the fact that when you have something like a foreign home buyer ban and it is perceived to have a certain effect on the real estate market, if you eliminate that ban for a large majority of people who are going to be purchasing, well, it essentially nullifies all the effects, and in addition to that, they are now making it possible for foreign buyers to come in and purchase properties outside of major metropolitan areas, as well as purchase properties that are over 4 units. That subsequently will have an effect on our rental market. And all of that isn't even the worst of it, is the fact that the government is now intervening and making it possible for people who have existing mortgages to basically kick the can down the road with respect to defaults. Because in the federal budget, the Liberal government created a mortgage code of conduct, essentially going to eliminate high penalties and high fees for people who need to sell their properties because they are in distress. However, the bad thing is that they are going to allow Canadians to renew their mortgage into longer terms at the renewal. Now, this is particularly important for the variable rate mortgage holders. However, it does pose some problem because this is the government interfering in the market, and those homeowners who have mortgages that they cannot afford are now going to be allowed to extend their amortization and bring their payments down to a more affordable amount. Now, this is not a bad thing, but the problem here is that in a normal market, those people who could not renew their mortgages and could not afford their mortgages would be forced into a position where they had no choice but to sell, and that would create supply in the market, which would create a balance in the market and would ultimately lead to more reasonable housing prices. But by allowing these people to avoid having to face the idea of selling and downsizing, they're basically creating a scenario where housing prices are going to be artificially propped up for a long run. And at some point, this all is going to have to come to an end. The question is, how will it come to an end? Honestly, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that we are continuing to push this problem further and further down the road. And as we do that, it creates an artificial floor for Canadian real estate, which is going to cause prices to either remain pretty similar to where they are right now or go up as they're already seeing through certain markets in Canada. So all I can say is that there are certain things in place that could prop up the Canadian real estate market for a couple of years, and that needs to be considered when you're looking at purchasing a property, regardless of whether housing prices go up or down. There are many people who are waiting for home prices to come down and may find themselves 6 to 12 months down the road not being able to buy because the opposite has happened. So rather than trying to time the market, what I suggest is that you are in the process of looking to buy a home, make sure that you absolutely can afford that home for the long run. So if you have questions or want clarifications, please do not hesitate to call me. If you still don't know who I am, go check my rating on Google and read my client reviews. Till then, take care. And if you found value and liked this video and would like to see more content, click on the boxes on the screen. Once again, my name is Preeti Rao. My contact information is in the description box below. Make sure to hit like, share, subscribe, and the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to call me because I hold the key that opens the door to your dream home.